Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. And I've got to say, rubbing my hands together this morning for a Tuesday morning. Wow, so much to get into. We've got updates from David Ornstein on what's going to happen in the last few days of the transfer window. He said chaos and has mentioned Manchester United and Chelsea as two to watch. We'll delve into that as well. Paul Scholes has absolutely slammed Marcus Rashford. The sooner he goes, the better. We've also got Dorgu deal day. Fabrizio's dropping all the I's and everything like that, and I think he's ready to go. Here we go. We'll talk about that as well. There's a little bit on Alvaro Fernandez. Ridiculous statement that Rio Ferdinand put out yesterday as well. I feel we need to talk about that. I mean, absolute joke, if I'm being completely honest. What else have we got to talk about as well? Let me just get rid of Jake Dobson from the chat. There you go, Jake. You're gone. You won't be commenting again. And Alvaro Fernandez, a little bit about that as well. And the PR machine. Yeah, let's talk about that as well. Loads and loads to get into. I think it's going to be a really interesting show for the comments whether you're watching live or not. Make sure you smash a like. Oh, Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba. That was the one. That was the one. Jake Dobson threw me away. Paul Pogba. Is he about to return? Instagram post last night. Picture of him and Ahmad talking about what's to come in the future. Would you take Paul Pogba back? Somebody in the chat said Goldbridge will be fuming. I think some people here, like, they watch other stuff or something like that. Shame on you. There's only one community, but you definitely don't watch the United Stand a lot. I don't know where this Goldbridge Pogba things comes from. I think people try to paint a picture without actually watching this channel. I was never one of the people who booed Paul Pogba. I've always liked Paul Pogba, so I don't know what people are talking about. I wouldn't want him back though. And I'll tell you why. And we need to look forward, not backwards. We need to have a dressing room that Amrim can control. We don't need any more big personalities in there. So I wouldn't bring him back. But more importantly, he's done. He's finished. He's been injured for the last 3 years. He's had a ban for 18 months, isn't it? No, he doesn't offer anything other than short-termism. I hate Paul Pogba, says Graham Souness. We bring Pogba back. We're absolute tools, says Trey. I don't think he's coming back. But look, it's still worth having a chat. Let's start. Where should we start? So much to talk about. I mean, I really want to talk about what David Ornstein said about the last few days of the transfer window. Where we are at the moment is that Fabrizio Romano is saying that the Dorgu deal is very, very close. Man United looking to go to around 35 million euros with add-ons, which basically takes it up to about 30 million pounds. That is expected to get announced in the next 48 hours. Could be today, could be deal day today, could be tomorrow. It's certainly very, 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 very close. Laurie Whitwell is talking about Alvaro Fernandez for 15 million. I don't believe for 1 minute this. I think this is client journalism again. I think this is United putting stuff out there to journalists to put it out there to potentially, and it happens all the time. I think Fabrizio does it. I think we all know it happens. Like, I think certain journalists get information from clubs and in return they get other stuff, and it's like, oh, could you put this out? It'd be quite useful, because I don't for 1 minute think we're going for Alvaro Fernandez, because there's no choice to be made. If you're thinking about Alvaro Fernandez or Dorgu, you go for Alvaro Fernandez. He's playing at a higher level and he's half the price, and he knows the club. You're not sat there negotiating with Lecce for 30 million and going, you never know. Laurie, tell the world we might go for Alvaro. You're not going for Alvaro. You're just not doing it. Like, what you are doing is trying to get the price down with Lecce by going, we might go for Alvaro, you know, we might. Yeah, but you could for half the price, and he's arguably a better player. So we're definitely not going for Alvaro, in my opinion. I think we're just using it as a tactic, and I think Lecce can see it a bloody mile off and we'll get the price they want. But hopefully it's going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. And you know what? I was thinking about this, and I thought I'll bring this into the show this morning. What are we up to? What are we up to? I suppose that's the question, because when I think back to most football clubs, whether it be Spurs when they sold Gareth Bale or Real Madrid do it as well, when teams are going to buy a player, they sell the player first, because it makes you look less desperate. So, you know, I think that if we buy, everybody knows we're in trouble. So if we're buying Dorgu before we sell Garnacho, it strengthens Chelsea's position if we've done a here we go on Dorgu and not sold Garnacho. You know what I mean? Because they could literally go, well, you're really desperate for PSR now. You're fucked. We'll give you 50 million instead. So I'm a little bit confused about, well, trying to make sense of Man United's transfer strategy is insanity in itself. But if we are selling Garnacho to buy Dorgu, I would have thought we would have sold Garnacho first before showing our hand on how much we're spending on Dorgu, because everybody knows we're screwed. And if we do that deal, I think it brings the price down for Garnacho even more. On Garnacho, we're not hearing anything at the moment. I still think it could happen. Essentially, the situation with Man United is that there are no other talks ongoing at the moment other than the ones going on for a left-back and potentially Garnacho. Chelsea expected to make a move later in the week. Towards the end of the window, which is intelligent. You know, the window runs out next Monday. You put your offer in for Garnacho towards the end of the window. United haven't got any options. You might get a good deal. We're not in talks with anybody else at the moment. No midfielders, no strikers, no wingers, nothing. There's nothing lined up. The news is that if anything happens, it will be desperate and money related, i.e., if we get some money in, we might desperately, thrash around at the end of the window on transfer deadline day. But at the moment, it's Dorgu and that's it. Lee Marsden says 42% yes. Man United fans so fast to forget he left on a free twice, yet wants Man United to help him build his career back, says Lee. We'll talk about Pogba, don't worry. The brand machine around Pogba concerns me the most. We already have this with Rashford and we're trying to get rid of it, says Patrick. Look, as our admin said last night, Paul Pogba's already won with that Instagram post last night. No one was talking about Paul Pogba yesterday. He puts up a post with Man United in it, and everyone's talking about Paul Pogba. You put yourself back, like you say, the PR machine rolls out. So he's probably already won what he wanted to win, which was getting himself back into the public eye, which is what he's done. Roma want Casemiro, if that's true, says Dale. Roma can't afford Casemiro, Dale, so I would be saying fuck off Roma. They want to take Casemiro because he's not playing and are willing to give him 50 grand a week, and if we pay 300 grand a week, I mean, we just can't do that. So, you know what? I wouldn't give Casemiro the steam off my piss. I mean, imagine if he knocks on the door and says, I'd like to go and play in the Italian league. Oh yeah, you know what, mate? We are just a fucking charity. You go and play in a competitive league because you feel you've got something to offer. And guess what? We will pay most of your wages while you go and do it. How's about you fuck off to Saudi Arabia and, save us 350 grand a week because you've been an absolute shithouse for the last year. You've been an absolute waste of time. Bloody send him off to Roma so he can have a Rome adventure. Piss off. If you want to go to Rome and play in fucking Roma, then take a bloody pay cut and piss off on a free transfer. Write the rest of your contract off. I tell you, we can't keep doing this. Come to Man United, set yourself up for life, play absolutely shit, and then go off and play somewhere else and we'll pay you to do it as well. We're already doing it for bloody Anthony. Probably going to be doing it for Rashford. No, you can't do that. I'd rather stick them on the bench and never use them here. And at least they're miserable and we're miserable as well. We're not here to bloody make other people happy on our bloody money. I mean, we talk about PSR and we talk about problems and people are like, oh yeah, it'd be good for him to go and play for Roma in a competitive league. Bollocks. He's got absolutely no sell-on value unless he goes to Saudi. So he either goes to Saudi or he can stay here. There's no value in saving 50 grand a week on his wages, apart from 50 grand a week. Controversial opinion, the state of things at the moment, you'd nearly missed Ed Woodward, says Aidan. I wouldn't go that far. So yes, Dorgu, let's see what's going to happen with that in the next 24 hours. As I said to you a couple of days ago, I'm absolutely convinced that this deal will happen. The only issue with this deal is going to be how much they go for. So, yeah, let's wait and see what happens with Dorgu. But I don't believe the Alvaro Fernandez story at all. We will talk about Pogba. A lot of people are talking about it as well. J.A. says, I think the Dorgu deal is done, but cannot say anything because executing it is essentially contingent on selling Garnacho. Is there any way they can bring him in without that sale? Says J.E. Mate, there's absolutely no way that Dorgu deal is done and we're keeping it quiet. We're Manchester United, mate. We couldn't even keep it quiet that we were going to bid for him. Ornstein broke it before we'd even gone to Italy. There is absolutely, if it was Liverpool, maybe. There is no way Man United can keep a transfer under wraps. Absolutely not. So, no, it's not done deal yet. It would be nice, J.E. It's a nice theory, but no, absolutely no way. Let me talk to you about Rashford. We'll get into this. We'll go to Pogba. We'll go to other things as well. But there's so much stuff coming out this morning about Rashford. And I mean, as I said yesterday, in a way, I feel a little bit sorry for him because a lot of these people who are now going for him have protected him when they shouldn't have protected him. I think that many United fans have said for a long time that there are issues with the way that Rashford plays, the way he runs around on the pitch, his attitude. These have been discussed for a number of years, but continually you've had the ex-player brigade, the media protecting him, probably because of his PR machine. And now everyone's turned on him and the truth is coming out. But it's such an avalanche. You almost feel like, as somebody who's been saying it for a while, I almost feel like, well, hello, we've been saying this for a while now and everybody's protected him. And now it's a big, massive pile-on. And I just don't like bullying. I hate it. And I'm not saying it's bullying. I'm definitely not saying that. But I think the pile-on is almost like, you know how we work on the United Stand. I'm not massive about slow sports news. You know, we like to have our finger on the pulse. We've been talking about Rashford for a long time. I don't really see a lot of value in, you know, people that didn't dare say anything suddenly jumping on him, really. But look, some of it is really interesting. So David Ornstein has said that, look, that there's nothing close with Rashford at the moment. There could be a deadline day scramble, but there's nothing close at the moment. United were looking for 100% of his wages to be covered, and this is David Ornstein's words, so, you know, around £325,000 a week. That's from David Ornstein. People talk about 250. People talk about 325k a week is what David Ornstein said. And ultimately, what have I wrote down here? Yeah, this is what David Ornstein said. It's a complete mess. It is described the Rashford situation as a complete mess. There are nothing close at the moment. Could be a deadline day scramble. United were looking for somebody to cover the 325k a week or roughly or whatever that is. That's not going to happen. So it's a complete mess at the moment whereby it's basically just a big PR machine because even Man United and Amrim is leaving the door open, and even Rashford is leaving the door open because because nobody's coming in. So the reality is that you could be in a situation where, it could become a problem. There was a problem with the volume. I don't know why it's done that. It's never done that before. Apologies. Thank everybody in the chat for letting me know. You should be sorted now. Makes me feel guilty for blocking that twat at the start, who obviously was just telling the truth. No, they were being a twat. It was nothing to do with that. Yeah, so it is a complete mess at the moment with Rashford. I still hold out hope that we can resolve this in the final few days, but I think we might have to take 50% wages and just move him on. It was interesting what Paul Scholes had to say, though, and Rio Ferdinand, actually, just before we move on. So Paul Scholes said that, look, when he didn't play, he refused to play for Man United in a Carabao Cup game or something like that against Arsenal. And he said, when I got took into the office with Sir Alex, I thought I'm going to be in big trouble here. You know, it could be the end of my Man United career. And the thing that Sir Alex said to me that stuck with me was that the worst thing you did, Scholesy, is you've let your teammates down. You know, by refusing to play in that game, you've let your teammates down. And he said, look, the younger players at Man United will look up to Marcus Rashford. He's 27, he's been there years, and he's not performing in training. He's letting his teammates down. And Scholes went on to say, really, he should be banished from the training ground. He shouldn't be there. And the sooner he goes, the better. So, I mean, this is somebody that I think that has supported publicly Rashford over the years. And that's a pretty damning statement from an ex, legend when it comes to coming through the youth setup. You know, one of the best class of 92 members, basically saying that Rashford's letting his teammates down. He should be banished from the training squad, and the sooner he goes, the better. I mean, there's no way coming back from this, really. It's really, really damning, some of the stuff that's coming out. Really, really damning. And he has to find a solution in the next few days, because hanging around at Man United, you might have a few mates in the club and on the training ground, but I don't think there's many mates left in the fan base or, in the wider media. He's getting absolute pelters. I mean, Carragher was sat there with Scholes saying it's the PR machine that gets on my nerves. And, Carragher even said to David Ornstein was saying about the training, he said, look, it's interesting because you get two sides of the story. people at Man United are saying that Marcus Rashford's training really badly, but Marcus Rashford's people are saying he's training really well. And Carragher went, but that's the PR machine around Rashford. Who are you going to believe? The coach who's training him and needs him, or his fucking PR team, he didn't swear, or his PR team that are obviously going to put it out there that he's doing well because they're trying to protect his brand. And that's very, very true. The PR machine around Rashford has done him more damage than good. I mean, God, you've made a lot of money out of books and stuff like that, and well done. But ultimately, a PR machine is for a bloody celebrity. You know, when you've been out to a Mayfair nightclub and you're married and you've done some stuff, you need the PR machine and the favours to kick in. For a footballer, it's really doesn't work. I mean, I know we get footballers watching this of all levels, and you know, a lot of the younger players, etc. But I'd seriously be questioning, you know, following the footsteps of Marcus Rashford around PR. It looked like a dream around the COVID time. You know, it looked like this was the way footballers were going to be. You get this PR team around you, you do all this, and you know, you look at the awards he won and everything like that. But in the long term, I think we all know through those periods where Marcus Rashford was the shining light, he wasn't always good on the pitch. And his PR, you know, he had the PR of Mbappe, but the ability of, you know, Harvey Barnes. It wasn't always good. And now it's caught up with him, and people resent that PR because they see it for what it is. I think as a footballer, I think David Beckham had a lot of brand around him, but he always delivered on the pitch. And yeah, I think it's caused him a lot of problems. One thing I would call out, though, is I don't know whether you saw what Rio Ferdinand said yesterday. I mean, he said there's no way back for for Marcus Rashford, but there was something else he said that I just was like, what are you talking about? I mean, are you an ex-legend of the football club, or are you an up-and-coming YouTube influencer? Because I think sometimes he blurs the lines. Because on the one hand, he's talking sense, saying there's no way back. And then he was saying, on the comments that Amrim about Rashford, he said, if it isn't true and it was me, and he said that about me, I'm coming out all guns blazing. I'm holding a press conference and I'm saying, I'm not having no one chat abuse like that in the media. And I thought, mate, are you an ex-player who wants to be involved with the club and be respected, or are you a gobby YouTube influencer who, you know, hasn't got a bloody clue? As if, mate, you are going to hold a press conference. I mean, look, what Rio forgets is a lot of us remember him at Man United. He wouldn't have said boo to a goose when Sir Alex Ferguson was in the room. So if Sir Alex Ferguson had said Rio's not putting it in training and that's why he's on the bench, Rio was going to hold a press conference and come out all guns blazing and say, I'm not having Sir Alex chat about me like that. Are you fucking bollocks, mate? Are you absolute bollocks? And what good does that do, you saying that? Because we've just spoken about Rashford's PR, and they might hear Rio say that and go, Marcus, press conference tomorrow. I mean, sometimes I don't think they've got the brains in their head that the talent they had in their feet. I mean, mate, you're meant to support Man United. As if it's a good idea to be going, if I'm Marcus Rashford and I don't like what Amrim said, I'm holding a press conference and I'm calling him a liar. That's really... I mean, you know, the more I say it out loud, the more I think, what a stupid thing to say as an ex-Man United player who's meant to have the best interests of Man United at heart. You don't put that out publicly, and you wouldn't do it yourself either. So, what a stupid thing to say. What a stupid thing to put into the public arena. You know, if Marcus doesn't agree with it, he should do a press conference and come out all guns blazing. Oh, yeah, that's going to do Man United loads of good, isn't it? I mean, what happened with Sancho and Ten Hag? We don't want that. And ultimately, the big issue I have with Rio saying that as well is, where's the bloody respect? You're paid 300 grand a week to train and work hard. If your manager doesn't think you're working hard, then you're not working hard. You don't do a bloody press conference and say, I think I am. I think he's a liar. What? I mean... I don't know what Rio's on. He literally worked under the best manager in football history, who, if he told him he was training badly, he'd go, sorry, I'll train better tomorrow. He would never have held a press conference. And let me just send a message to you as well. If you're an aspiring footballer or whatever, and your manager says you're not working hard enough, please don't hold a press conference saying the manager's a liar, because you will fuck your career up forever. Everyone will look at you and go, what an absolute disrespectful prat. What an ego-driven idiot. Like, if you don't agree with the manager, you keep your gob shut and you find yourself another club and you learn the lessons. You don't hold press conferences about a manager saying you're not working hard in training, because you out yourself as somebody who is arrogant, disrespectful, and doesn't respect your club. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Look, yeah, I'd be very surprised if Rashford's going to do a press conference. Anyway, we move on. What should we talk about? David Ornstein also was speaking about the last few days of the transfer window. Now, the good thing about this is if you're hoping Man United might do some activity in the last few days of the window, it might not be good activity, by the way. It could be sales. But he was basically asked in general about the transfer window and has it been a quiet transfer window? And David Ornstein said, look, it might appear to be a quiet transfer window, but it's probably been one of the busiest ones behind the scenes. Lots of clubs are trying to do stuff. It's just really difficult to do it. And Paul Scholes made a good point, actually. I think Paul Scholes actually is one of the better pundits. He does get ridiculous stuff wrong, like I'd sell De Ligt over Onana. But look, you know what? I get stuff wrong. We all get stuff wrong. I think if you can find a pundit or a YouTuber or anybody who can get even 60% of stuff that you find interesting right, you're probably on the right track. And Scholes, I do find at least 50%, interesting on a lot of things. What Paul Scholes said is that I'm not convinced that doing business in January for Man United is a good thing to do. You're overpaying. It's only 4 months until the summer, and you can rush into stuff that you maybe wouldn't do in the summer. So maybe there is something in that. Around certainly the fee that we might be playing for Dorgu. But on the other hand, the flip side to that coin is, and I actually disagree with Scholes on it, I just thought it was a good point, is that this is Ruben Amorim's first transfer window. And I think that normally the January transfer window can be a little bit risky, but we demanded Amorim come in November. To not give him something in January is ridiculous. And also, we've seen that Chelsea have done good business as well. David Ornstein said about the general transfer window, lots of people are trying to do stuff, but it's really difficult because clubs don't want to sell and PSR and everything like that. But he said the two clubs I would keep an eye on in the last few days are Chelsea and Manchester United, and not necessarily separately. Like there could be stuff between the two clubs. There's a lot of conversations going on. That worries me. On the one hand, I think that you could look at it and say that, yeah, we could be heading towards doing some business, which is always exciting. But it worries me that the business we do could be between Chelsea and Manchester United, because I don't see anything coming from Chelsea that benefits us in the long term. I see something massive going to Chelsea that benefits them for the next 6 years, and they'll make a lot of money out of it as well. And that's Garnacho. So I think that worries me a lot, if I'm being completely honest. Rahul, you're on the wrong channel, mate. I'll tell you what, I'll block you, and then you can go and find somewhere else to talk your shit. Idiot. You will get blocked. Like you won't get read out. You will get blocked, and you won't be commenting again until you set up your next channel, and then you will get blocked again. I don't know why you think you're clever. And we're not going to talk about it anyway, because this is not the platform for nonsense. I mean, yet again, just before I go back to that, yet again, I got sent something this morning of another naive, doesn't understand what's going on article about Man United potentially selling Rasmus in the January transfer window. And look, we mentioned it last night. I'll mention it again now. If you think or are excited about that prospect, that is your personal prerogative. If you think we're going to do it, you've got absolutely no right to be talking about Man United signing or selling players ever, because you just do not understand the transfer market. You cannot sell a £60 million player 18 months after you bought them and not sink Manchester United into financial obscurity and probably points deductions. We are on the brink of PSR, which means we've got hardly any money, and you think Man United are going to sell Onana or Rasmus or Mount, who they only bought 18 months ago and have depreciated in value. You are not going... You will sink the football club. If I paid 60 million for Rasmus and somebody wants to buy him at the moment, the most I'm going to get is probably 30, 40 million. That's under what his value is on the book at the moment. So I'm costing the money. I'm costing the club money, which will push us over PSR and FFP. So we can't do the deal. So whoever's reporting it or talking to you about it or going, you know what, I think it'd be a good idea. I think you're thick, and I don't think you've got a clue about transfers. And you can apply that to Onana as well. You can apply it to Mason Mount. If you don't understand how it works with amortization and players that we've overpaid for, that is why United are looking to sell people like Mainu and Collier, because they are pure profit, and what you get is what you get. So going back to what I was talking about, I'm a bit concerned when David Ornstein's talking about Chelsea and Man United talks, because a lot of people are talking about Chelsea and Man United talks, and I can't think of one scenario. Wonky Donkey says, Mark really doesn't understand PSI. I don't understand PSI, mate. I understand PSR, but I'd love you to tell me where I've gone wrong on that, because I understand it like the back of a hand, my own hand. You don't. Watch the video from Saturday, and you will be called out and you will be shut down, because the lies that come out from the club and certain people in the media about PSR and FFP need to be shot down, because people need to understand it. And you cannot sell Rasmus and make profit in January. In fact, you'll sink the club because you will make a loss. So that's why we won't do it. And that is why when people say, why are we selling assets and not selling the shit? It's because we're up to our neck in shit with the shit. Anthony is a prime example. We literally can't sell Anthony without causing a loss on the books, which would be stupid. Double D says, why are we always last minute with transfers? Can't get it right in January, can't get it right in the summer. When we do try to get a transfer done, clubs are able to name their price. It's been going on for years, says Double D. I think this is a great point from Double D. We normally get one. And I think we all know the answer. The reason we're so desperate in the transfer market is because we're still owned by the Glazers and nobody respects us. We needed a reset. We needed a change of identity. We needed to be, not a Glazer club anymore. And although Ineos are trying to do that, everybody in football is still going, yeah, but you're still owned by the Glazers. Like, you still have to get signed off by Joel Glazer. You might pretend that you're a different football club, but you're not. You're still Glazer owned. You're still doing the same sort of things. Things still need to get signed off by Joel Glazer. So we're still, it's like putting makeup on, isn't it? And then pretending you're something you're not. Like, we're still a Man United football club owned by the Glazers, and you can't just go, ta-da, Ineos are here, and now we want respect in the transfer market. Clubs are still treating us the same. And that's why when we walked away from Branthwaite in the summer, I thought it was really important, because you start sending the message out that we're not going to be ripped off anymore. And I felt that in the summer, we probably paid a lot for some of our signings, but I did think that we didn't overpay massively. I think the wages were better, and walking away from Branthwaite was a better idea. But then the January transfer market seems like we've gone. I think this. I know I'm in the minority, and I know people like Gary Neville and others have said it was a bad summer transfer window. I disagree. I think it was a good summer transfer window, and I thought it was a step forward. But unfortunately, I think in January, I would say from that step forward, we've taken a step backwards. It's been a shambles. This reminds me of a Glazer window, an Ed Woodward window, an Arnold, Murta. I thought the summer was good, but I thought I think the January transfer window has been an absolute shambles, and ultimately will probably get a lot worse if we sell Garnacho and overpay on Dorgu. So yeah, I think it's been an absolute shit show this January transfer window, and I think it's because ultimately we're still treated the same in the window as a bunch of mugs by other clubs and agents. I'd be interested to know what the agent fee is for Dorgu as well, because we paid a massive agent fee on Xerxes. So we're still making similar mistakes, definitely. But yeah, going back to what David Ornstein said about the last few days of the window and Man United and Chelsea being busy, I hope it's separately. I really hope it's not together, because if somebody can tell me a deal that we can do with Chelsea in the last few days of this window that's going to that where we come out on top, I can't think of one unless they're giving us not Carlton Cole, unless they're giving us Cole Palmer, which they won't. I can't see a deal with Chelsea that's going to help us. We'll do some stupid loan deal for Nkunku or João Felix, and we'll give them one of our best players at a reduced price, and that is just not a good deal for me. It's desperation. Alfie says, let's be honest, Rashford would do a better job up front than Rasmus and Xerxes combined. I get he isn't training, but it's true. I mean, do I even need to answer that question, Alfie, or do you... I feel bad for you. Like, you've typed that, and then you've sent it. I mean, this is a prime example in life to check your emails, check your WhatsApps, type something out and then read it before you send it, because you've absolutely owned it. I don't even need to respond. How the hell can somebody that can't be arsed in training and everybody wants to get rid of be better than what we've got? You're talking absolute arse, mate. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. You're talking absolute shit. Bringing Pogba back feels like going backwards, says Daz. We need to talk about this Pogba thing, yes. Dorgu ain't worth getting rid of Garnacho for. I don't care if we are desperate for a left-back. Garnacho is a young player. We need to keep our next generation, says Jared. Shaunak says, Inos brought in a new recruitment team just to repeat old patterns. Shouldn't we have A, B, C, D options fitting Amrim's system instead of overpaying, says Shaunak. And Tom says, I'm really surprised we don't hear more about Jonathan David with his contract expiring and our apparent financial challenges, says Tom. I mean, look, it's nothing to do with United, but Jonathan David will probably end up going on a free to some Italian club like AC Milan. There's clearly something with Jonathan David that clubs don't want, because he's been around for a cheap price for quite a while now. It's bad, but I'd take Pogba just for squad depth, says Steve. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it, but we'll talk about it in a minute. Andy Atherton, Rashford to Barca on loan with an option on the final day with us paying 50% of his wages. They would make a fortune on shirt sales and their socials. I'd do that deal. David said, Ferdinand said he had a go on Rashford but had to do an ollie after a couple of days. They are probably just scared of Rashford and his PR team, says David. No, I think Rio's probably thinking about an interview with Rashford at some point, to be fair. Last day, wonder if Ineos are devaluing the club by removing big assets and replacing with cheaper youth to reduce the cost of buying the rest of the club, says Last Day. Harvey Barnes must be like, why always me, says Jay. I always use Harvey Barnes because he's a good player, but he ain't world class. There's nothing wrong with... I don't believe that Marcus Rashford's shit. I really don't. I don't believe he's trashford or anything. I think he's a good player who's been misled, who should have focused on football. I don't think he was ever going to be as good as people were telling him, but I do think he's a good player. What attributes does Alvaro have over Dorgu at left wing back, says Gucci. I think it's really difficult to analyse two very young players, one who's playing in the Italian league in a relegation battle and one who's playing for one of the best teams in Portugal. But I think what Alvaro has over Dorgu at this stage is more experience at a higher level. I mean, he's playing Champions League football. I thought he played very well against Barcelona. I mean, look, he's up against one of the best wingers in the world. And I think he looks very, very good. Age-wise, he's a year older. I don't think there's much between the two. I really don't. And honestly, I'd probably rather... if I'm being honest, I think we should run a poll on this. Who would you rather have? I think I'd rather have Alvaro. But... and that's not necessarily about the price. There are big risks with both players. Both of them could flop. Both of them could be one of the best left-backs in the world in 4 years. What I can tell you about Alvaro Fernandez is that he's been scouted by Real Madrid, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and PSG. They're all looking at him. So, yeah. So Pogba, 43% would have him. We'll talk about that in a minute. I just want to run this second poll then. I think this is quite an interesting one. Either or, Dorgu, Alvaro. Go, there we go. We've treated Rashford worse than Sancho, who gave us nothing. This is a joke. And where's the proof he sacks managers, says Hyans. Should Rashford's wages be close to 244, given the 25 production? Rory, I don't know. I'm just telling you what David Ornstein said. He said 325. I suspect the Dorgu deal is done. That was from JA. Controversial opinion. The state of things at the moment. You nearly missed Wood. Okay, we've done that one. I just want to make sure I've caught up. Yeah, caught up. Lovely stuff. Let's talk about Paul Pogba. Inos are trying to dilute Glazer's long term. Glazer's never wanted to sell 100%. With Jim's 29% and their 49%, he can dilute them over time. No, he can't. No, he can't. If I've got 49% of something and I don't want to sell it, I don't have to sell it. I mean, this is just speculative nonsense that doesn't help us. And I will call it out, and it's not your fault, Sean, but the thing that irritates me and others is that when it was Qatar against Ineos, there were people out there who every single day were telling everybody that although Sir Jim's only getting 25%, his plan is to own all of it by 2026. And people believed it, and it made them start going, yeah, let's go for Ineos. And you know who it was, and it was quite a few people, and it was in the media as well. The day Sir Jim bought us, there was no mention of it. He was interviewed at Christmas, there's no mention of it. There is no strategic plan to remove the Glazers from Ineos. And even if there was, how do you do it? How do you do it? If someone owns your house and you're well off, how do you go, I want to buy half of it tomorrow and there's the offer? There's nothing written down. There's no strategic plan to do it. It's just a theory that people have to make themselves feel better. And it was never there either. And it's a shame because people were very vocal about it at the time to try and get people behind the Ineos thing, and it was never there. Here we go on Heaven. Yeah, I'm not massively bothered about this. I mean, I will talk to you about it, but I'm not massively bothered about it. It's another bit of business from Manchester United where people sort of get fooled by we've done some business. He's an 18-year-old centre-back from Arsenal who he's going to sign for Manchester United, called Aiden Heaven. Is that going to make us go into the top half of the table this season? Is that going to make us win the Europa League? I mean, look, we are buying some very interesting young players. Obi Martin, Lasali, Coney, Avery. Now Heaven's come in as well. Really, really good. Really interesting. But, you know, they're for the future. They're not for now. And I'm not going to bother saying anything more than that. Welcome to Manchester United. Good luck. But we've been doing this sort of thing for years. And I think we need to be very careful about thinking, oh, you know, what have we done? What have we done? Why don't we all go on social media and say, take the L, Arsenal? I mean, they're in the Champions League in a title race. I'm sure they're devastated that they've lost an 18-year-old to us. Rashford has the same issue as Sir Jim and a lot of other rich people. They surround themselves with yes men and start to believe their own hype, says Martin Saunders. Also, Rooney says Alvaro counts as homegrown, right? I think he probably would. I think he was here for 3 years before we let him go. As long as he was here 3 years before his 21st birthday, then yeah, I think he is, yeah. Oob says, I sent a super chat, you must have missed it. I doubt I have missed it, so I'll go and have a look. Why don't we start Malacia, says Eggers, a natural left wing back that looks like he's taken the tactics on board with forward runs when he's played. Defended well also. No, he ain't good enough. Sorry. Malacia ain't good enough. Like, he looks half decent because he's actually got a left foot, but no, Malacia ain't good enough. He's limited. I'd be very surprised if Malacia played Champions League football when he leaves Man United. I don't see him as that level of a player. I think he's going to go mid-table Italian league, Dutch league, maybe mid-table German league. I don't think Malacia is good enough, to be honest, technically. I'd love to be wrong because we've already got him, but yeah, I don't see it. Would you rather sell Garnacho and get Kuna and Dorgu, or keep Garnacho and get no left back and a rubbish loan? I'd rather keep Garnacho, mate, Kai, because one of those scenarios is dangerous. You got to be really careful that what the club will do if they want to sell Garnacho is they'll feed you some bullshit. they'll go, yeah, it's to get Kuna, and then we won't get Kuna, and then you won't have Garnacho either. How are you going to sign? How are you going to sign Garnacho? Sorry, how are you going to sign? How are you going to sign Kuna, who Wolves don't want to sell and would want, 50, 60, 70 million? Alfie says, it's just my opinion. I'm not saying he should play because he shouldn't if he isn't training, but I just feel he could score and we need that now. You've done it again. Alfie, please, look, I like you. I'm just trying to help you. Please read before you send the message. You've done it again. He's done it again. I'm not saying he should play because he shouldn't. I just feel he'd score and we need that. So you understand, he shouldn't play because he's not training well, but you're saying we need him to score goals and you would play him. Mate, I think what you're trying to say is if we had Marcus Rashford, if we had the best Marcus Rashford, he'd be in the team. Yes, I agree with you. But as you said yourself, he's playing absolutely shit in training and he shouldn't be anywhere near the team. Hi, Mark. I sent you an email how club can raise from 140 to 350 million just doing some other business with hotels and other activities. I asked ChatGPT. It actually doesn't look complicated at all. Send it on to Inos. They said they want some ideas. I can't read your name though because I don't know how to do that. It's in a language I don't understand. Let me see if I can find this thing here. And then we're going to talk about Pogba. Brumers says, why are most of our ex-players thick as mints? Mate, because God tends to balance out talent. So if you're intelligent, you might look in the mirror and say, God, I'm ugly. Or if you're a brilliant footballer, you're not getting the brains. It happens a lot. Posted a picture crying after the FA Cup final saying how much the club means to him and yet he can't even turn up to training, says Julian. Fraud, born and bred. Oh, dear. That was from Hyans. No, it wasn't from Hyans. It was from Julian. I'm just trying to find this one. Aiden done that one. Here he is. Here he is. Oob says, Martin Day, welcome to Members Club. Oob says, hi, first ever super chat. If we undervalue Garnacho, aren't we setting ourselves up to fail with future youngsters? Doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, this has been said before. It's a very good point. Good morning, Mark. Says Graffian, how are you feeling today? I'm all right, yeah. All right today. I think Oob makes a good point, though, that, and we've said it before, how you sell players doesn't get forgotten. So if I'm looking to buy a Man United player in the summer, and we've sold Garnacho for 60 million, you draw a line in the sand about what the value of your players are. So if I come for Mainu in the summer and United say 100 million, we can say 100 million, but if we need to sell, which obviously we would do if we were even contemplating offers, then I would be saying, I'm not giving you 100 million pounds for Mainu. Garnacho actually achieved more at 20 than Mainu has. We'll give you 60. And then you end up selling undervaluing again. And then when someone comes in for Delo and you go, yeah, we'd like 45 million, you go, you want 45 million for someone in their mid-20s who's been hit and miss, and yet you sold a 20-year-old prospect who, had immense talent for 60. We'll give you 30. So, yeah, you're right. Every deal we do that's bad impacts us. If you overpay on Dorgu for 30 million and then you try and buy Gyökeres in the summer for 60, they'll go, oh, yeah, all right, proven Champions League striker for, only 50% more than you played Dorgu. We'll have 90, please. And it impacts you on how you sell as well. So great point. And probably doesn't get discussed enough. Overpaying screws you in the future, and underselling screws you in the future. And the gaps, and the bad thing is, the gap gets bigger. If you overpay on every transfer, that's more money going out of the club. And if you undersell on every transfer, that's more money going out of the club. What you want to do is underpay on transfers and overpay on sales. So we should be getting overvalue on our players that we sell and underbuying on the players that we buy. But we are very bad at that. Jay says, love the channel, Mark. Best around. The amount of clowns out there, refreshing to see some quality stuff. Hope Garnacho doesn't go, be gutted. Going Hairy Lemon for pints after work. Love that. Up the Dubs, up Ireland, up the Hairy Lemon. Love it. Thank you, Jay. Here we go, says Josh. Hi, Mark. Ugarte, Mainu, Bruno and Pogba looks like a very good midfield. Don't you think so, says Ashton. No. Mojo says, I'm better than my evil twin. Go Liverpool. And if United did only bit of business before the end, what would you prioritise with regards to ins and outs, says Isaac. Rashford and Casemiro out, Dorgu in. I would take that at this stage. Rob says we have to back Amrim if he wants Dorgu. No, we don't. No, we don't. We really, really don't. I said this last night. There's a difference between trying to back Amrim on the player that he wants and overpaying. And the hypocrisy of it makes me laugh my head off. So you've got United fans like that person there saying, if Amrim wants him, we have to get him. And then in 2 years' time, people are going, what a stupid fucking deal. Why did we do that? And case in point, Exhibit A, Anthony. We've got to get him. Doesn't matter what we pay. We've got to get Anthony. We've got to do it. And then for the last 2 years, people never shut up about how we overpaid for Anthony. But at the time, we've got to get Anthony. If the manager wants him, we've got to get him. So we need to learn as fans as well. Yes, Amrim wants Dorgu, and ideally we should get him, but that doesn't mean we should be overpaying because that kills us in another direction. So I disagree with you. I like the player, I want him at Man United, and we will get him. But I'm not going to agree with overpaying because that's hypocritical. We've all criticised Sancho, Harry Maguire fees, Wan-Bissaka fees, Anthony fees, and then we're going, oh no, it doesn't matter. If Amrim wants him, it doesn't actually matter. And it is exactly the same situation, G-Man. It is exactly the same situation. If you overpay, you overpay. And you can't change it because you have an agenda against the previous manager and this manager, you want to, lick his arse out. The reality is, Amrim doesn't negotiate. And this is where it's exactly the same situation. Amrim and Ten Hag go, get me Anthony. Get me Dorgu. They're really important. They're plan A. So we should get them. Where it goes wrong is that United couldn't negotiate themselves out of a wet paper bag. That's where it goes wrong. We should get Dorgu because Amrim wants him, but we shouldn't overpay. And people will go, well, how do you want to do the deal? Well, I want people who can negotiate properly because we should be signing Dorgu for Amrim because he wants him, but we shouldn't be paying any more than 20 million because he's not worth it. So that doesn't even mean we need to walk away. It just means we need to negotiate better. So it's exactly the same situation, G-Man, because what you're doing is your pride is kicking in and you're going, I love Amrim, I want Dorgu, and we should get him at any cost. But you're not understanding the core principles of business. Dorgu goes, Amrim goes, I want Dorgu. Dorgu goes, I want to go to Man United. Those two go on and have a chat about how they're going to make Man United great again. Then the clowns come in and go, let's overpay. We're having a completely different conversation. Let's get Dorgu. He is exciting. Amrim wants him. Get him what he wants. But don't overpay because you've got crap negotiators. And it happens time and time and time again. So I want us to sign him, and I'll be very happy when we get him. But I'm not happy that we're overpaying again. Because on the other hand, we're trying to sell Garnacho for undervalue, and we're signing Dorgu for overvalue. And hold on, this has been the last 10-year problem. This is why we're in the trouble that we're in. We can't sell well and we overpay, and it screws us on PSR and FFP to keep doing this, but we keep doing it. For me, Dorgu 100% isn't first choice. It's Mendes. So overpaying for a second or third choice is a joke. I mean, that's a pretty good point from Dion. Dorgu isn't the priority, is he? Definitely not the priority because it was Nuno. You're right. Still love you, Mark, says Rob, always United. Do you think we'd be spending more when the new financial year starts, says Vizvesh? Well, yeah, we will do because we'll be in a new financial year. Kai says, is Amrim's comments on Rashford hurting the club? What good is it to project laziness and scare away the few remaining potential buyers? Look, we discussed that yesterday. I've got to talk about the Pogba thing, but look, as I said yesterday, it's a big statement from Amrim. I'm not against it because it's the end of player power, but you know, it'll be interesting if we can get a move for him at the end of the window. Very interesting. Yeah, JE says that United's poor negotiating positions with transfers is directly related to its poor financial structure. The club are not viewed as a club that has leverage because everyone knows the handicap of the financial structure. A star, JE, A star. This is absolutely another reason why, and probably one of the main reasons, we can't negotiate well. Because Man United go to Lecce and say we want Dorgu. Lecce just do a couple of internet searches and go, they're screwed. They're literally putting it out there themselves. They're screwed. They haven't got any money. PSR, FFP. They're absolutely screwed, and yet they need a player. You'd think that Lecce would go, they've hardly got any money. We should help them out and do a deal. But in the football world, you go, they desperately want a left back. They've got hardly any money. Right, double the price. Double the price. Because they know Man United can't go, well, let's just get a cheap left back because the club's under pressure. They're in the bottom half of the table. United need to get plan A. So although we're in financial trouble, clubs will knock the price up because they know how desperate we are. Because, believe it or not, the worse you are financially, the more desperate you are. Especially when the team's not doing very well. So, again, yeah, the debts makes us vulnerable. If we were... Look, Man City don't get ripped off. They don't get ripped off, and yet they can afford to get ripped off because they're absolutely loaded. The richer you are, the better deals you get. You walk into your local trainer shop today, and you're just John, who works at the local insurance company. You're paying full price. Old Rio Ferdinand walks in. Oh, Rio, take these trainers. Just give us a shout out. It's true. The poorer you are, the more you have to pay out. The richer you are, the more you get things and discounted because you know that's just the way life works. Great point from JA. Right, let's talk about Pogba very quickly. Are we going to buy young talent just to sell for profit? Yes. Soft, yes. I wouldn't be getting overly excited about Lasali, Obi Martin, Heaven, and anybody else because actually I think you're 100% correct, and it's been said before. I think we're buying a lot of young talent because we're going to look to start selling it. And Garnacho will be the first. Collier will happen as well. Mainu might happen. Obi Martin will happen. It's... The more I look at United, the more I think it's a cash grab for Inos and the Glazers. They're going to make a shitload of money out of regenerating Manchester. And they are looking to bring young players in to sell them as well, which they'll make money out of. I saw somebody say yesterday as well, as a taxpayer, you're going to fund the regeneration of Manchester around Manchester United. And yet Qatar was going to do it out their own money. So has nobody actually looked into that yet? The fact that the government are going to end up paying all that to do all that work around Old Trafford, which the taxpayer will end up paying for. And yet foreign investment from Qatar was going to do it all out their own pocket, which would have saved money for the taxpayer, which could have gone into schools and hospitals, etc. Not my words. That was a tweet from yesterday. I mean, that might be something that's worth looking at in the future. Anyway, let's talk about Paul Pogba. I think, Dom, you've got to go, mate. I'm not even reading it. You've got to go. 43% of you would bring Paul Pogba back. 58% of you would go Alvaro over Dorgu, by the way. Paul Pogba, for me, was potentially going to be the best midfielder since Zidane in world football. He had the physicality, he could dribble, he had the passing range, he had the lot. And for various reasons, he didn't fulfill it. And he had 2 bites of the cherry at Man United. He left Man United rightly because the wedding, the marriage was over. Some people wanted it to be toxic. I was very much of the opinion that it was amicable. Wished him all the best. Always thought he was a talented player, but we'd reached the end of the road and off he went. Because I've always really appreciated the Pogba talent. Again, the PR around him, I think, didn't help. Since going to Juventus, he's been pretty much injured the whole time. Then he had the ban. He's hardly played any football. He can't come to Manchester United. It doesn't need to be horrible. You just can't come to Manchester United. We cannot have that noise around this football club, especially in light of what's been happening with Sancho and Rashford and Ronaldo in the last few years. We can't have that type of player anymore. We've got to build a different Man United where the manager is the manager and the players just play football. And Player FC dies. Through no fault of his own, Pogba would bring Player FC because that's what Paul Pogba is. He's a brand. We can't go back to that. So I wouldn't want to go back to that for one reason. And the biggest reason of all, he ain't the Paul Pogba you think he is. People genuinely think, it's like Nkunku. People think we're going to get Leipzig Nkunku. Well, he couldn't bring that to this league. How many players from the German league look brilliant and then are shit here? So Paul Pogba's even worse than that. He hasn't played well at the highest level for years. And people want to bring him to Man United with all that noise. It's a no. I like the player, but it's an absolute no. Right, thanks everybody for watching. Absolute legends this morning. Fantastic show. So much there. I think I'm going to get clipped more than a hairdresser this morning, to be honest with you. But fantastic. And I'm sure if you're not watching live, there's stuff to get into as well. We are back at 2 o'clock and 8 o'clock tonight. There is no football tonight. It's all one night Champions League tomorrow night because it's the final game, isn't it? So love that. I feel quite tired after that show. Lots to get into. Could we get Here We Go today on Dorgu? Hope so. And I hope that nothing happens around selling Garnacho, but we'll have to wait and see. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit.